Alright, so we're back again on the Mustang. Today, well, technically it's the same day, just later in the day and after I've had something to eat for dinner. And instead of mindlessly sitting around staring at the TV, I'm going to be out here working on stuff. Because, let's face it, it's Saturday night, I'm going to be up late regardless. I might as well be working on something out here. So, tonight's project. We are back with this. The last video we did the front suspension, got a view of it sitting down on the ground. Now I'm going after the wheel cylinders because this brake line over here was shot and I went on ahead and swapped it out. Then when I went to try and bleed it, I ended up breaking the bleeder screw off of the back of the wheel cylinder, which everything is so rusted and crusted on this thing from the 60s that I'm sure the insides of it are trash anyways. So I'm going to replace, I already got one brake hose, but I got to do the one on the other side, both front wheel cylinders, and then hopefully I can get away with just doing the rubber hose on the rears, and we'll go from there. So first off, I've already hit everything with penetrating oil. Need to knock this cap off, then I can get the center nut out because the actual spindle out here is part of the brake drum. So I got to pull that center nut so I can get the drum off, and then I can get the bolts for the wheel cylinder after I get the shoes spread apart, take the hose off, yada yada yada. Let's get to it. Alright, so first off I'm going to knock these caps off so I get these center nuts out of here. I'm just using a small chisel for this guy. Don't get too crazy with it because you will crush these things. They're just flimsy sheet metal. And somewhere in here is a cotter pin. These were well lubricated. Get a rag for that. There it is. Fantastic. And I might have to get something bigger to get these. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get something bigger on that. Those center nuts, typically you only get them tightened to the preload you need for the bearings. So they're not really tight. If you hit one of those with an impact gun, putting it back together, those bearings are probably gonna last about 15 minutes of driving before they get smoked. So yeah, not a lot of torque. And there is a process to go and seat these tapered bearings when you're putting them together. Typically I'll snug them down and then roll it around a little bit to kind of get them to move, and I'll back the nut off, move it some more, tighten it back down, and rinse and repeat 2 or 3 times to really get them, the tapers of the bearings to match up. And then you just snug them down. They don't go very tight at all. I know whatever the torque value it is, it's in the Newton meters. It's tiny. All right. There's one bearing. Back one's going to stay in there. But now hopefully that'll give me enough slack that I can wiggle this thing off the brake shoes. As long as there's not a lip on the inside of the drum that's going to stop me from taking this apart, which there probably is because it's old. But we'll give it a shot. That moved a little bit. this one's gonna suck. Alright, so in this case, now I need two different picks. There's a little inspection window in the back side of this thing, which is to adjust the star wheel to get the shoes kicked out to the drum. Well, there's a little tab in there that when you hit the brakes, it twists in and it spins that star wheel to keep them adjusted tight to the drum. So you need to get in there with a pick and push that piece of sheet metal back off the star wheel, and you can turn that wheel and bring the shoes in, which will free this up so it'll come apart. Which sucks that it didn't come off, because I hate doing it. It takes forever. It's a pain in the butt. And it's really hard to do because you can't see shit. You're dealing with a little slit that's like that big to work through. So anyhow, I'm gonna go grab some stuff to do that. Okay, now that I've got that done off camera, because that just absolutely sucks to do, and with the drum off, I can show you this a whole lot better than through the little tiny hole in the back. So first, all of this needs to come out, because this is not supposed to be in here. And whoever made this is evidently long gone. They've moved out many, many years ago, apparently. Don't you love old school muscle cars? Anyways, I'll get that too. So clean some of this away, get a better look. So now I've got this apart, unthread this real quick off of here instead of messing with my stand, because I got it so neatly wrapped around the lift post here. Getting dizzy yet? Oh, snagged on the cord. There we go. Now then, this is the adjuster I was talking about. Focus, there we go. So right here, you can see there's a little window right there. And typically you'll stick a flat blade screwdriver in there to turn this star wheel. And as you turn that star wheel, obviously this is threaded and it spreads the shoes out to the drums. That's how you adjust them. This is the actual adjuster. So when you hit the brakes and everything pushes and pulls, this little guy will pull down and spin that little wheel. So to get this to wind in, to get it away from the drums, to get it apart, you have to get one pick in through that hole down there and push on this guy to push it out away from the star wheel, and then you can get in here with a flat blade and you can turn the star wheel relatively easy. Just depends on how rusty these threads are. But anyhow, that's how I got that to adjust in so I can get the drum off, which, yeah, it kind of sucks, but this way is a much better way to explain it, because you can't see any of this from the outside through that backing plate. So at least now, if you're dealing with an early Ford with front drum brakes, you'll know towards the rear of the vehicle, that little slot, if you put something in there straight, you'll feel that plate and the springiness of it. Then you take your second flat blade, you can turn that guy out. So makes it a little easier. At this point now, how do I want to go about this? I guess I got to break down the whole assembly so that way I can take my wheel cylinder out, which looks terrible. But yeah, let me see if I can find the drum brake tools, because I know my old man's got to have the little spinner tool for popping those guys off. Because if you don't have the drum brake tools, these things suck. But if you have the actual tools for it, it's not that bad. They're pretty easy to do. And that's a good thing, because very few people do drum brakes anymore. Like, you'd be amazed how many guys that work for Meineke that refuse to touch drum brakes because they don't know how they work, and maybe they pinch their little finger one too many times and just, nope, don't do it anymore. So, anyhow, stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to take these apart and put them back together. Okay, so for drum brakes, this tool right here is invaluable. This little guy here is, if you don't have this, you're pretty well screwed. You're gonna fight like hell. So this guy, stick it over there, and it has that end, catches in that slack of it, and you'll twist it and allow you to roll the spring right off of there. And when you go to put it back on, you will set the spring over it, and that notch catches on the end of the stud. You just roll it forward and it pops right on. Yeah, must have. I mean, it's not a must. You can do it with like a flat blade screwdriver and various pliers, and you're just gonna cuss a lot more without this tool. You can pick it up at any auto parts store or frickin' Harbor Freight or whatever. It's worth having in your arsenal. Anyhow, I'm gonna reposition you so you can get a better straight on look at this, because I think off kiltered over here you probably can't get a good look at how this is laid out and how this comes apart, but it comes apart extremely easy. So I'm gonna try to get a roll card over here or something I can set this up on. So yeah. All right, that looks a little better. Now, assuming you are new to the world of drum brakes, I highly advise, before you take even a single spring off, go on ahead, get your cell phone out, go on ahead and just take a picture. Just one good picture. That'll show you where everything's at. That way you have a reference of, hey, did this spring hook over the top or behind, or did this one go over that? Which one overlapped over here? Was this washer piece in front of that spring or behind that spring? That way you just have a quick guide to go back to it. Or you can do it the old school way and take both drums off and the other side, as long as you keep in mind that it is mirrored, it's still laid out the same. You'll have a reference of how to put it back together. But anyhow, you know, typically, I mean, I've been doing this for over 15 years now, and I still take a picture every time. Very rarely do I ever have to refer back to it anymore, because once you've done a few of them, they're all pretty much exactly the same. But still, yeah, memories fade, shit happens. Let's just go on ahead and take a quick picture. It's 5 seconds to have that little bit of insurance. But anyhow. So that guy pops off. We'll get this guy over here as well. Oh, that one's gonna fight. This one's actually a little different. Most modern ones, the nub here that's keeping that spring on isn't as robust, but that's a good one. Anyhow, let's see where we're going next. I guess we will wind this guy in so we take some of that tension off of the adjuster. And get some small slip joints for that. Majority of these, like the other side, I believe is going to be a normal thread. This one is a reverse thread, or vice versa. Because, like I said, one's mirrored, so one of them's going to be a backwards thread. That might be loose enough now that I can do it by hand. Nope, not quite. Still a little too tight. There we go. All right, now I got tension off of that. And it's still pretty tight there, but can I walk you off? Sure can. Oh, there we go. We'll do that. Now we can raise that, pull that out of the way, set that somewhere safe, and that guy hooks in there, which isn't too incredibly important. Normally I'd grab that with some vice grips. I'm going to try it with some normal pliers because there's not a lot of tension on it. Yeah. Pull that guy out. That guy can come out. I'm going to want to go through and clean all of this thoroughly before I put it all back together. It's pretty bad. But luckily, it's a good thing to go through and inspect all your springs and everything and see how rusty and crusty they are. And these are just dirty. They're not bad. Like this still has the green paint on it. It's covered in brake residue, but they're actually in pretty darn good shape. This thing may have had brake pads and stuff or brake shoes put on it before it got parked up however long ago. So that's cool. Now, typically you can go through and fight and try to get these springs off. I don't do that. A lot of times, heck, even in my auto tech program, one of the old school techs showed me this trick of to not take these springs off. You literally just take these two guys off and let the whole thing just fold in on itself, and then it all just falls apart. You can have it apart in a couple of seconds. I'll probably try it on the other side just for demonstration purposes. Right now I'm trying to do this of just see how it comes apart, how does it go together, blah, blah, blah. But the other one, yeah, I'll probably do it the fast way. It looks kind of funny too, because it just crumbles. So I'll take that guy off. You can see how it's already trying to pull itself in. And yeah, it'll just pop that out. Now it all comes apart. I can set these aside. And I'm going to need to save these guys for the new wheel cylinders. And look, brake fluid. That's not a good sign. That means this guy's leaking, which I already knew that. That's why it's junk. But anyhow, now I gotta take the line off up top there, undo my two 10mm on the back, which are probably gonna break off, which hopefully they will, because I've got new bolts with the new wheel cylinder and I don't want to fight with it. I just wanted to pop the hell off. That might be a 1/2 inch. Nope, smaller. 7/16. That is in fact 7/16, but that is a crusty line, of course. Hopefully the 7/16 line wrench will get it without opening up and slipping. There we go. Hell yeah. Alright, so that guy is broken loose, but I snugged it back ever so slightly to keep it from leaking while I'm taking the other stuff apart. Because I'm going to try to do this without losing too much fluid. I'm going to lose a good bit, but try to make a minimal mess if possible. Are these as well? A7/16? Nope, those are 1/2 inch on the back of the wheel cylinder. Get a sock. You know what, now that I think about it, no, I may have to go through and twist this a little bit. Because this one, on these, the brake hose actually threads into the back of the wheel cylinder, unlike most other cars that will have a different, an actual swivel or removable fitting. These, the actual line is threaded, so you have to thread this guy into the wheel cylinder first, and then hook up this side over here, because it actually has a flare nut. So, yeah. Anyways, grab a wrench, crack that guy loose while the wheel cylinder is still bolted to the backing plate. And it's bigger than a 9/16. Yep. Got that guy cracked loose. Now we can go after the wheel cylinder. Or not. I actually have to take that line off to get to the bolt for the wheel cylinder. Well, looks like this is going to get messy. Oh well. It was worth a shot. You know what? I'm going to go get a vacuum plug to stick over this hard brake line. Hopefully that'll hold the brake fluid so it doesn't leak everywhere. That one's too big. Down a size. There we go. Now I don't have to worry about my master cylinder running dry while the brake line's disconnected. Now in this situation, since I am doing both front wheel cylinders and the rear brake line, I'm not too concerned about the master cylinder running dry because, well, I have to bleed the whole system regardless. But let's say if I was just doing this one side and not the other and everything else is bled, well, if I cap that off right there so the fluid level doesn't drop, I should only have to really bleed this side. Is it smart to do it that way? No. Go on ahead and check the other side too, just in case, because hey, an air bubble can work its way up and over, especially if it's a split line. Anyhow, but typically makes the job a lot easier if you just cap that off. Because if the whole thing goes dry, then the whole system's got to be bled, and it sucks. But Regardless. That's not good. It's very rusty. There's one. The other one's not as happy. Which is not good. That means my job's gonna take longer. Well, I guess it's a good thing we got online. I don't like that. Let me try a shallow socket. Maybe I can get in Nope, because that's an impact socket. Alright, one more time with the regular wrench. Maybe, hopefully. Damn. Maybe vice grips in this particular situation. As the old saying goes, every 15-minute job is one broken bolt away from being a 3-day ordeal. Maybe. Can't tell if it moved or not. Feels like it's moving. Oh yeah, we're good. Vice grips to the rescue. Yeah. Fantastic. Ooh. Yep, that wheel cylinder is full of all sorts of rust and rot, and you just see it all in there. It's shot. But we already knew this. Okay, now try to kind of clean this up a little bit before we start putting stuff back together. Look at that. Looks so much better already. So typically what I'm doing right here, just because from all the old oil and brake fluid and grease and stuff that's accumulated over the years, if you notice, all of the brake material on here, it's all very clumped together like, you know, grease. It's not dusty. So that's why I'm going ahead and just doing this with a wire brush. Typically, this black dust and stuff that builds up in there is brake pad material. And brake pad material has asbestos in it. And asbestos gets in your lungs. And it's like fibers of fiberglass. And once it sets in, you can't get it out. I.e. the mesothelioma. So, if it's all dusty and powdery, don't scrub it with a freaking wire brush like what I'm doing, because you're going to create a cloud of asbestos dust here that you'll be working in and breathing it in. And it's freaking horrible for you. I mean, it's, you know, as bad as vaping, I guess. I don't know, whatever. It's probably worse. But anyways, yeah, hose the whole thing down with brake parts cleaner. Or if you don't have that, get your garden hose out. If you're doing it in your driveway, use water, something to wet it down and keep the dust down. Because when it's like this, it's no big deal. It's just, it goes to the floor, you can sweep it up, throw it away, whatever. But when it's in a dust, you can breathe it in, that's not good. You don't want that. But for me, this is all like, looks like engine grease the way the stuff's coming off. Like there's no dust or nothing to it, it's just falling off. Which is nice. And it's cleaning up actually pretty darn good, so. So now I'm getting some dust here, but the dust I'm getting is rust. It's just straight metal. And that's not a big deal. That's fine. As long as it's not that brake pad material, you're good. Now, give it a little spritz of hairspray here and knock off the last little bit. Fantastic. And then, now we have these raised pads all the way around. Those are where the actual brake shoes ride and move around. So before I put it all together, I'm going to get some brake grease, or heck, even anti-seize does alright. You know, anti-seize won't last as long as it's not as resistant to water as like actual brake grease. But anyhow, put something on there so it has something nice and slick to move against. Makes everything move happy, smoother and easier. That's what you want out of this stuff. You want it all to move and retract as it should. That way you don't get hanging brakes and sticky pedals, and with drums, if they hang up, it'll make it pull extremely hard. Do like what this car is doing, where this side was doing nothing, and that side over there was working. So when I try to back the car up and I put my foot on the brake, it locks up the left front, but not this one. Then proceeds to try and do a burnout and shift the ass end of the car over to the driver's side. So, didn't get it on film, but I got probably about that close to smacking the bench with my left rear quarter panel in this thing, trying to back it out of here when it did that. Alright, take a little bit of this good stuff here and do a little schmooey there, and a little there, and a little there, a little bit there, and there, a little bit there, and yeah, that's it for the backing plate. Now, I'm going to go on ahead and clean these other parts down with some brake clean, and then when I'm ready to start assembling stuff and put the wheel cylinder in, I'll turn the camera back on. So I'll catch you all in a few minutes. Alright, now that I got the other stuff all cleaned up and all the parts are ready to start going back together, before I go and stick this new wheel cylinder in, I'm going to use a nice set of little Allen bolts, because getting in here on top of the brake line and everything with a wrench, or at least for the back one, really sucks. So I'm going to use an Allen, because now I don't have to worry about space issues with an Allen or I mean with a socket not fitting between here and the actual head of the bolt, and thus having to use freaking vice grips to get it off. So with an Allen, I have alleviated that issue. That, and they look cool too. Yeah, some nice black heat treated Allen bolts on this rusty backing plate that, you know, no one is ever going to see, but all know it's there and it's cool. Yeah, I'll take one of the ones I got for the other side and go find the Allen so I can tighten it up. One snugged. That is just so much easier. There we go. Nice. That'll make life nicer in the future. Now, which one is which here? Oh, this is this one. Came with a convenient new crush washer, which is good because I don't want to reuse the old one. I mean, realistically, I reuse them all the damn time and they survive, but technically you're not supposed to. But let's face it, in a pinch, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. Yes. Yeah. Freaking hat keeps getting snagged on the back of the damn fender. I would take it off, but unfortunately it's raining outside. And I have long Italian hair, so if I take my hat off, I'm gonna look like that dude from Ancient Aliens, and I just don't feel like I'm up to that level of hazing I'll get for that today. So I will keep my ridiculous wiry curly hair to myself. All right. Stick that back in there after I remove my awesome little vacuum plug, which is keeping this guy from leaking fluid everywhere. Knock that little keeper back on there, then I can tighten that guy down. That should be good. That's all set. All right. Another thing, the adjuster. Go on ahead while you've got this guy out. Put anti-seize on your threads. You'll thank me later. And same goes for this guy over here. Put some anti-seize in there. That way it all stays moving and working like it should. All right. Where are the pistons? Here they are. Stick these guys back in here. And I take these guys and hook them on there. Kinda, sorta. There's that one. Are these pistons not compressed in this freaking wheel cylinder right out the gate? What the hell? That one's got a hefty spring in there. Alright. Usually they kind of stay in a little bit, but alright, well, not quite like the modern ones. The modern ones are a little easier, but whatever, no big deal. I think I'm going to, yeah, I'm going to put the spring in to hold this guy before I put the other one in. That way I'm not trying to hold both of them at the same time. Typically you can kind of put them together the way they come apart. You can leave that center spring in there. But this one here, I don't think it's going to work. I've had quite a few things that, little tricks that work on modern cars that have not wanted to work on this today. But that's whatever. Oh, come on. Oof, it's barely hanging on there. There we go. So anyways, what I just did was there's a little flat on there that catches, this little T slot. All I did was push on the spring with my fingers and twist it. Now they do make a cool little tool. It's like a little cup with two windows in there so you can see that pin. And what you'll do is you'll put your thumb on that pin, push in on it, and then twist it and pull back. And it's for installing those, but I don't have one of those here right now. Got one in my toolbox at work, but I'm not working out of my toolbox right now, so it is what it is. Now, that guy went there. So I'm going to set this guy up over here on the other side. That retainer pin in it. Which this is going to make getting that spring on a little harder, but whatever, it'll go. Shit, I need that. Stay. Let's try this way. Maybe. I don't know. Damn it. Almost had it. That almost worked. Of course, almost doesn't get the job done. There we go. Now, get that guy. Try to get it hooked in that hole, which is gonna suck. There we go. Kinda. There we go. Cool. Yeah, it's almost like I knew what I was doing. There we go. That's all set. Now I need my little cable, which I did not clean up earlier. Good enough. Anyhow, he lays in there, goes over that guy. It's going to go down like so. Then this guy went on. I need to pull this guy up. Something like that. Because the other spring is the one that took off first, which meant it overlapped. So we'll take this. How cool is that? Makes that job a little easier. Now I can get the other spring that comes from over here to here, and then the one from here to here, which, well, actually goes with a little tab that goes there. And yeah. Goes something like that. Here's that. And this little dude has his little hook that sits up in there. And he went here, and then I got the spring that goes in there to there. Which I now need to find because I don't remember where the hell I set it down at. There it is. Yeah. Now the question is, did it go in like that? Or did it hook over like that? That's why we refer back to the cell phone. Take a look at the picture, see how that spring was oriented. Just a minute. And as you can see, it was the first way I had it laid out. So, that's why we take pictures. Because even the best, which is clearly not me, they do forget. Everybody forgets. Shit happens. So, it went like that. Now for this one, definitely busting out the vice grips. Now we can get a good bite on this thing and pull it over. There we go. And there we have it. The drum brakes have been installed with a new wheel cylinder, new line. Now I can put the drum on. So what I'm going to do at this part is I'm going to go repack my bearings with grease, which the outer one I already did last time I had it apart just to look at the drums to see how destroyed they were. But I'm going to repack the inners and put this guy back together, and I'm going to seat my bearings and get a nice, good, smooth, free play out of the drum, get the bearing preload set. And then once it's set, then I'll come back and I'll adjust my star wheel down here to get my pads or shoes adjusted out to the drum where you have a very light drag on them. Because if I try to adjust it before setting the bearing preload, my bearing preload is going to be all wrong, and vice versa. So, yeah, I'm just going to go on ahead and do that off camera because that's the thing that millions of people have seen and done. It's not a big deal, and I can't really relay how tight to get it over video. It's kind of a feeling thing. But anyhow, that's enough rambling. I'm going to slap that together real quick, And then I'm going to blow the other side apart, and then we'll bleed them after I put the other side together. I probably won't film putting it all back together because this took so damn long to film. And you've already seen how it's done. The other side is exactly the same. You're not going to miss a single thing. So, I'll be right back. Okay, now that I've shown you the proper way to take this apart, now I'm going to show you the speed run way to take this apart. Oh no, that's fucked my time. Normally I don't have these backing plates. Completely disassembled. So that was a kind of, normally when they're not all rusty, they fall apart way faster. And I got held up by the two little plates behind the springs, which some of them don't even have those back ones, which if it didn't have those, it would have fell apart a lot easier. But when I went to school for all this, we were timed to break down a set of drum brakes and put them back together again as a test out. So anyways, an instructor showed a few of us that little trick to pull it apart fast. And as long as you remembered how it went back together, you can slam this guy back together, apart and back together pretty damn fast. But anyhow, I already showed you guys how to put it together. You've seen the long way and the fast way to take this shit apart. I'm gonna swap out that wheel cylinder and brake hose and get this side put back together, and then I'll bring you back in when it's time to put the rear brake hose on and bleed these guys, because yeah, there's not too much else left. Alright, so we got the fronts all put back together now. Can't see squat, but brand new wheel cylinders, new hoses, all that worked out good. I do need to bleed these front brakes still. As for the rears, well, it's getting kind of late, and these are not looking promising. These brake lines are incredibly crusty, and I'm worried that they're gonna break, and I don't have any line here to replace them with. So I'm gonna soak these guys overnight and see what happens there, and hopefully they turn out, it'll be okay. But I'm gonna leave them alone for right now. Just going ahead and bleed the fronts so I have good front brakes. So if I need to move this thing out of here, which I know I do, I can do that. But yeah, I guess we're gonna bleed these front brakes and ignore the rear for this weekend. And we're gonna have to come back and revisit those. Oh, Odie. Oh, Goober. So anyhow, yeah, I'm gonna get the bleeder, some fluid, get this thing down a little bit so we can do stuff up front. Get that, at least that part done today. Okay, so I started out by gravity bleeding the fronts. No big deal. These actually have what's called a residual pressure valve in them, which makes gravity bleeding a hell of a lot easier because you crack it open, let it bleed a little bit, close it, pump up the pedal a little bit, and it actually tries to hold pressure down towards the wheel cylinders, which is great. Crack it open and repeat a few times, but I still went on ahead and hit this with a vacuum bleeder afterwards. So my fronts are bled, front brakes are good, easy stuff, but the rears, you know what, it's Saturday night, let's live dangerously. It doesn't want to come off, so I'm gonna hit that guy with some fire, and hopefully that'll break the rust free and it'll come loose. Because if I can get that the rear brake line changed out, then I can use fire to an extent on my wheel cylinders. You can't use too much because on those you've got rubber seals in there, and if you go crazy with the fire there, you're gonna melt and burn and destroy the seals inside, then your wheel cylinders are screwed. So discretion is key here. So I'm gonna get this thing propped up somewhere, and yeah, well, hell, I may not be able to. My battery is almost dead. Shit. Let me see if I can get power ran to this thing. I may have to save this one for tomorrow regardless. Alright, so my battery is completely dead. That's why I didn't get a chance to film what I had going on there. But anyways, the rear brake line. Did I throw it in the trash already? Anyhow, I was in fact able to heat that guy up and get the ends to let go on it. So all I did was this block down here, heated this guy up with a MAP gas torch, and it got the rust to break free on it so I can get the ends off of it. Same goes for that end. Heat it up, get it good and hot. And I was able to get the fittings off of there without hurting them, and I got really lucky. And the bleeder screws on the wheel cylinders were not frozen, and they just popped loose, and I was able to bleed them. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to get all of that on video because, again, I was saving my last little bit of video or battery life in my camera for this last little bit. But it's late at night, well, early in the morning actually. But anyhow, the car does have brakes, and it's lowered 2 inches now. So maybe tomorrow I'll actually get to drive this thing around the block because pretty much everything's there to do it. So maybe I can get some video into that one. Catch you all in the next one. I'm gonna go get some sleep.